The day was quiet on Outpost Delta, a small human research station built on the rocky moon of Carrion 6. The sunless sky glowed a soft violet, and the air inside the base carried the faint hum of oxygen pumps. Ryan Hale, a young human engineer, sat alone at a corner table in the cafeteria, eating his lunch in peace. He had been fixing a broken solar array all morning, covered in grease and sweat, and now all he wanted was food and silence. But silence was rare when Sarai was around. Sarai was a Varnian scientist, tall, blue-skinned, curious, and absolutely fascinated by everything human. She had joined the outpost a month ago as part of a cultural exchange, and ever since then, she had followed Ryan everywhere, asking hundreds of questions about Earth. At first, he thought it was cute, then funny, then exhausting. Today, she walked into the cafeteria carrying her tablet and a half-eaten alien fruit that glowed faintly in her hands. Her bright silver eyes landed on Ryan immediately, and her thin lips curved into a mischievous smile. "Ryan," she called, her voice ringing clear like music. "What are you drinking?" Ryan looked up from his tray, holding the white bottle in his hand. It's milk," he said casually. Sarai blinked, confused. "Milk? What is milk?" Ryan smiled. "It's something we humans drink. It's full of calcium, protein, and nutrients. Helps bones stay strong." Sarai tilted her head. "And where do you get this milk?" He chuckled. "From cows." Her silver brow furrowed. "Cows?" "Yeah, cows are animals. They produce milk naturally." She looked thoughtful for a moment, her translator implant clicking softly as it processed the term. Then, suddenly, her eyes widened, and she leaned closer to him, whispering with genuine shock. "You create milk from there?" Ryan froze, mid-sip, almost choking on the drink. The entire cafeteria went silent for a heartbeat. A few human engineers at the next table turned to look, trying to hide their laughter. Ryan's face turned bright red. "No? No, not from there. What are you even talking about?" Sarai blinked innocently. "Your body has the correct glands, yes? The translator says so." Ryan slapped his forehead, realizing the misunderstanding. "Sarai, that's not how it works. Milk comes from female mammals, mothers, not men." But the damage was done. Around them, alien crew members had started whispering. A group of tall insectoid researchers clicked their mandibles in disbelief. A reptilian guard tilted his head, murmuring something about human self-feeding capabilities. Sarai, still confused, looked back at Ryan. "So you do not produce it? But you consume it from other species? That is strange." Ryan groaned. "It's not strange, it's normal. We domesticated animals thousands of years ago." But Sarai wasn't listening. She was typing furiously on her tablet, her silver eyes glowing with curiosity. "This discovery must be recorded," she muttered. "Human nutritional system. External lactation sources, potential biological crossover. Fascinating. Please don't write that down." Ryan begged. "It sounds so wrong." Her expression was calm, almost academic, but a tiny smirk played on her lips. "Perhaps I should verify it with a biological scan," she teased, lifting her small scanner device. Ryan nearly jumped from his chair. "You are not scanning me." At that, the cafeteria burst into quiet laughter. Even the alien guards were chuckling, trying to pretend they weren't amused. Sarai blinked again, unsure why humans found it so funny. "Did I offend you?" she asked softly. Ryan sighed, shaking his head. "No, Sarai, you just misunderstood something very important." She frowned slightly, her voice gentle now. "Your biology is so complex, Ryan. On my world, reproduction and nourishment are done through nutrient capsules, not through organic means." He laughed weakly. "Yeah, well, humans are old-fashioned like that." For a moment, they both sat quietly, the awkward tension fading into a strange kind of warmth. Sarai stared at the milk bottle again, her curiosity glowing brighter than ever. "Still," she said at last, "it is fascinating to create life and feed it with your own body. Perhaps that is why humans are known for their compassion." Ryan blinked at her, surprised by the sudden depth of her words. Thanks, I think," he said awkwardly. Sarai smiled, small and sincere. "You are welcome, human milkman." He groaned. "Please don't call me that." The cafeteria erupted in laughter again, and Ryan hid his face in his hands. Sarai tilted her head, innocent as ever. What? It is a title of respect, is it not? Ryan looked up, laughing despite himself. No, Sarai, it definitely is not. Outside, the violet light of Carry-On 6 dimmed as the moon rotated toward the dark side. Inside, laughter filled the human outpost, echoing between metal walls. And for the first time, Ryan realized that maybe, just maybe, misunderstandings weren't always bad. Sometimes, they were the start of friendship. The next morning, Ryan thought the embarrassing incident was forgotten. He walked into the cafeteria with his toolkit and datapad, hoping to start his shift quietly. But as soon as the door slid open, every alien eye turned toward him. The insectoid researchers clicked their jaws in greeting, the reptilian guards bowed politely, and even the maintenance drones beeped twice. Someone had painted Milkman on his mug. Ryan sighed deeply. Oh great, I'm a legend now, he muttered. Sarai sat at her usual table, surrounded by glowing screens filled with human anatomy charts. When she saw him, her silver eyes lit up. Good morning, human Ryan. I have studied your species further. May I ask new questions? He froze. Sarai, please, no more milk talk. She tilted her head innocently. Not exactly. But related, your kind seems to produce many liquids. I am attempting to understand all of them. Ryan blinked, nearly dropping his tray. That sounds worse, Sarai. Around them, the other humans tried not to laugh. Sarai tapped on her tablet, projecting a holographic model of a human body. She pointed at highlighted organs. Here, you store water. Here, you produce saliva. And here. Stop right there, Ryan interrupted quickly. Let's not make this a full demonstration. She blinked twice, clearly puzzled by his discomfort. Why are you embarrassed? Knowledge is purity. Ryan rubbed his forehead. Because humans have private boundaries, he explained carefully. Sarai leaned forward, genuinely curious. Boundaries? Physical or emotional? Both, he said. We don't like to talk about some body functions in public. Sarai nodded slowly, her expression thoughtful. Ah, a cultural modesty trait. Fascinating. But before Ryan could relax, she added softly. Would you demonstrate privately then? He almost choked on air. What? No, that's not. Sarai, that's not what I meant. The reptilian guard nearby snorted, and a burst of laughter echoed across the cafeteria. Ryan covered his face again, wishing for a black hole to swallow him whole. Later, in the engineering bay, he tried to focus on repairing a power conduit. Yet, every few minutes, someone would walk by and smirk. Need a hand, milkman? One of the mechanics teased. Ryan groaned. I'm never living this down. That evening, Sarai appeared again, holding a small crate. Inside were several white containers filled with different alien liquids, star syrup, glow nectar, and hydron milk from her world. I brought you samples, she said proudly. Perhaps we can compare sources. Ryan stared at her, speechless. Sarai, you can't just bring random alien fluids and call it research. She smiled sweetly. But comparison is the foundation of science. Against his better judgment, Ryan gave in, setting the bottles on the lab counter. Sarai stood beside him, watching intently as he examined the labels. The glow of the containers reflected in her silver eyes, and for a moment, her playful curiosity looked almost childlike. Do humans always react with embarrassment when discussing biology? She asked quietly. Ryan hesitated. I guess it's part of being human. We're complicated, emotional, and sometimes shy. She nodded. That is strange, but beautiful. He looked at her, surprised by the softness in her tone. Beautiful, he repeated. She smiled faintly. Yes, because your discomfort means you feel, and that means you care. Varnian species separated emotion from study long ago. Sometimes I wonder what we lost. For a moment, the awkward air faded, replaced by something genuine. Ryan smiled. Well, maybe that's why humans still laugh and mess up so much. Sarai tilted her head again. Then I envy that, she said quietly. Ryan blinked, unsure how to respond. Then, as if remembering her mission, she tapped her tablet, switching the mood instantly. Also, she said brightly, I have sent my report to the Galactic Biologic Archive. Ryan froze. You did what? She smiled proudly. I titled it Human Lactation, Cross-Gender Cultural Confusion and Possible Nutritional Exchange. His jaw dropped. Sarai, you can't publish that. People will think that humans are versatile, she offered innocently. Ryan groaned. No, that we're insane. She blinked again, confused by his reaction. But it is factually accurate. Ryan slumped against the console, defeated. Sarai, remind me never to let you near a camera. She giggled softly. Too late. I already recorded our discussion yesterday. He stared at her, horrified. You didn't. Her grin widened. I did, she said proudly. The galaxy will know the truth of human milk. Ryan buried his face in his hands, muttering, I'm transferring to Mars, I swear. Outside the viewport, stars drifted across the black expanse of space. Inside the lab, Sarai's laughter echoed, innocent yet victorious. Ryan sighed, but deep down. The next few days turned into a nightmare for Ryan. Everywhere he went, someone was whispering, pointing, or pretending to drink from invisible bottles. His communicator buzzed with strange messages from unknown contacts across the outpost. Most were asking the same thing. Is it true that human males produce milk? At first, Ryan thought it was just local gossip, but then he saw it. A trending headline on the Galactic Research Net. Human males capable of nutritional secretion, confirmed by Varnian scientist Sarai Nolan. Beneath it was a picture of him, mid-sneeze, with the caption, The Human Source. Ryan nearly dropped his tablet. Sarai, what did you do? She looked up from her lab console, genuinely confused. I published a factual observation. Why is everyone so excited? He stared at her. Because you just told the galaxy that human men produce milk. She blinked innocently. But they do not. Ryan groaned. No, Sarai, they absolutely do not. Her silver eyes widened. Then the translator must have misinterpreted again. He rubbed his temples. You think? By lunchtime, the rumor had evolved into madness. A news drone hovered over the cafeteria, projecting animated diagrams of human anatomy. Other species were arguing about how humans managed to sustain internal nourishment cycles. One alien even started a betting pool about which part of the body produced the milk. Ryan sat at his table with his head down, trying to ignore it. But when the reptilian commander approached holding a datapad, Ryan's heart sank. Engineer Hale, the commander said, his tongue flicking nervously. Our fleet medical division requests a sample for verification. Ryan's voice cracked. A sample of what? The commander hesitated. Milk? The cafeteria exploded in laughter. Ryan stood up, glaring at Sarai. Fix this, right now. Sarai stood too, flustered. I did not intend this reaction. I will correct it immediately. An hour later, she uploaded a correction report. It read, Update. Human males do not produce milk. Only females. Previous report due to translation error. Sincere apology to human species. Unfortunately, the title of the correction was even worse. Clarification. Human milk, not from males. Within minutes, it was trending again, twice as fast. Ryan stared at the screen, speechless. Congratulations, he said dryly. Now I'm the face of an intergalactic milk scandal. Sarai bit her lip. It was not my intention. He sighed. Yeah, well, the galaxy doesn't care about intentions. That evening, when he tried to return to his quarters, he found a small crowd waiting. A group of alien students stood there holding datapads and bottles. Excuse us, sir, one said eagerly. We are from the University of Xenobiology. Can we interview you about human lactation rituals? Ryan's jaw dropped. We don't have rituals. Leave me alone. He slammed the door shut and collapsed on his bunk. His communicator beeped again. Another message, this time from Earth Command. It read, Mr. Hale, we've received inquiries from 3 alien governments about milk trade agreements. Please advise. He screamed into his pillow. Later that night, Sarai came to visit. She stood awkwardly at his door, holding a cup of tea. I brought you something calming. It helps reduce stress. He looked up at her tiredly. Unless it's milk tea, I'm not drinking it. She giggled softly. It is just herbal brew. Ryan sighed and let her in. For a moment, they sat in silence, the hum of the life support systems echoing around them. I really am sorry, Ryan, she said quietly. I did not realize your species was so sensitive about fluids. He chuckled bitterly. We're not sensitive, we just don't want to be galaxy-wide jokes. She looked down. Then let me fix it another way. Before he could ask what she meant, Sarai activated her tablet and projected a live broadcast. To the Galactic Science Network, she announced. I am here with the human known as Ryan Hale, and I must clarify. Ryan's eyes widened. Sarai, what are you doing? She smiled nervously. Trust me. The camera focused on her face as she explained human biology again, correctly this time. But when she ended the speech, she added softly. Still, I believe humans deserve admiration, for they nurture others not just with food, but with heart. The broadcast went viral instantly. Comments poured in from across the galaxy, calling humans warm-blooded caretakers and compassionate life-givers. Ryan sat stunned, watching the feed climb in views. Then he laughed, tired but amused. You accidentally turned me into the symbol of human kindness. Sarai smiled proudly. Then my mistake was a success. He shook his head. Only you could cause an interstellar misunderstanding and make it sound poetic. Outside, the stars glittered over the dark horizon. Inside, laughter and relief finally returned. And though Ryan still hated the nickname, somewhere deep inside, he knew he'd never forget the day the galaxy learned about human milk. A week had passed since the great milk misunderstanding, and Outpost Delta was finally calming down. Or so Ryan thought, until the communication console lit up with the seal of the Galactic Council of Biological Ethics. He groaned the moment he saw the message header, request for participation, cross-species nutritional study. Apparently, the galaxy hadn't moved on at all. Sarai stood beside him, reading the message with wide silver eyes. They want to study human biology further, she said softly. They call it a cooperation opportunity. Ryan buried his face in his hands. Sarai, every time someone says study around here, I end up embarrassed. She tilted her head. But this could restore your reputation. Before he could protest, the council's holographic projection appeared right in the room. A group of alien representatives blinked into view, scaled, feathered, luminous, and serious. One of them, a tall being with 6 glowing eyes, spoke first. Engineer Hale, it is an honor. Your unique physiology has sparked scientific wonder. We request your cooperation. Ryan gulped. In what way exactly? The alien replied calmly. We wish to test the claim of universal mammalian nourishment compatibility. Ryan blinked. That means what exactly? Sarai whispered helpfully. They want to see if other species can digest human milk. Ryan stared at her. But humans don't make milk. Sarai coughed. Yes, well, small detail. The council continued. We shall arrive on Outpost Delta tomorrow to begin the demonstration. Ryan's jaw dropped. Demonstration? No demonstration. But the hologram had already vanished. For hours, he paced the control room, muttering under his breath. Sarai watched him quietly, her face thoughtful. Ryan, maybe this is a chance to prove the truth. He turned toward her. Sarai, the truth is already out there. They just don't believe it. She smiled faintly. Then perhaps we must show them differently. The next day, the Galactic Council's shuttle arrived, sleek and silver. Dozens of alien scientists stepped out, each carrying scanners and specimen containers. Ryan felt like a criminal facing trial. They assembled in the cafeteria, the same place where the chaos had started. And, as always, Sarai stood right beside him, ready with her datapad. The lead scientist gestured politely. Mr. Hale, we would like to observe a human obtaining milk from the source species you mentioned. Cow, correct? Ryan exhaled in relief. Oh, thank heavens. Finally something normal. Sarai blinked. Do we have a cow? Everyone turned to look at her. Ryan closed his eyes. No. Sarai, we don't have a cow on a space station. The aliens whispered among themselves, disappointed. Then the reptilian delegate suggested, perhaps human can simulate process for understanding. Ryan's eyes widened in panic. Simulate. No one is simulating anything. The room went silent. Sarai bit her lip, trying not to laugh. Finally, she stepped forward. Council members, allow me to present an alternative. She projected a hologram of an earth farm, cows grazing peacefully under sunlight. This, she explained proudly, is where human milk originates, through cooperation with another life form, not from human anatomy. The room buzzed with fascination. One of the avian scientists whispered, You share food with animals? That is sacred. Ryan blinked, surprised by their tone. Sarai smiled. Yes, humans nurture their world, even the creatures they rely on. It is a bond built on care, not exploitation. Her words carried a warmth Ryan hadn't expected. The council murmured in agreement. What had begun as an embarrassing misunderstanding was slowly turning into admiration. After the session, the lead scientist bowed slightly. Your kind values life deeply. Human hail, we understand now. Ryan exhaled, relieved. So, no more milk rumors? The alien smiled. On the contrary, there will be documentaries. Ryan groaned. Oh, great. Later that night, as the council's shuttle departed, Sarai found Ryan sitting alone under the observation dome. The stars glowed like dust on black velvet. She sat beside him quietly, handing him a warm drink. Hot chocolate, she said with a grin. Contains milk, do not panic. He laughed. You'll never let me forget, will you? She smiled softly. Never, but I am proud of you. He looked at her, puzzled. Proud. She nodded. You handled this chaos with patience. You taught not just me, but an entire galaxy something about humanity. He chuckled. Yeah, that were lactose legends. Sarai tilted her head. Perhaps legends of kindness. The stars reflected in her eyes like tiny moons. And for the first time since the whole disaster began, Ryan didn't feel embarrassed. He felt human. A few days after the council's visit, Ryan thought life was finally normal again. But normal was not a word that existed in Sarai's dictionary. When he arrived at the research bay, he found her surrounded by holograms, alien students, and a huge glowing banner that read, Intergalactic Symposium, Understanding Human Compassion Through Milk. Ryan nearly dropped his toolkit. You have got to be kidding me. Sarai looked up, eyes bright with excitement. Ryan, we have been invited to the Central Galactic Academy. They wish to hear you explain humanity's nurturing traditions. He stared blankly. Traditions? We just drink milk. She shook her head seriously. Not anymore. Now it is a symbol of your species' empathy. Ryan groaned. I'm going to regret this forever. A week later, they boarded a massive crystal-winged shuttle bound for the galactic core. The Academy's halls shimmered with light, and beings from 100 worlds filled the seats. Ryan had never seen so many species in one place. Floating spheres of light, plants that spoke in waves, and metallic beings that hummed like music. Every single one of them was staring at him, waiting to hear the human milkman speak. Sarai adjusted his translator pin and smiled encouragingly. Just speak from your heart. Ryan muttered. My heart's telling me to run. But when the lights dimmed and his name echoed through the vast hall, he stepped forward anyway. He took a deep breath and began. Humans are strange creatures, he said softly. We laugh when we're scared, we cry when we're happy, and sometimes we misunderstand each other badly. A ripple of quiet amusement passed through the crowd. He continued, but one thing that defines us is care. We protect our young, our friends, even strangers, sometimes at great cost. Sarai stood in the corner, watching proudly as he spoke. Ryan projected images of Earth, mothers holding babies, people feeding animals, volunteers helping after disasters. This, he said, pointing to the images, is what milk really means to us, not biology, but compassion. It is how we pass strength to the next generation, and how we show love without words. The silence that followed was deep and respectful. Even the floating light beings dimmed their glow. A small alien child in the audience raised a hand. So humans feed others because it makes them happy? Ryan smiled gently. Yes, because giving something of yourself, even a little, makes both lives brighter. Sarai felt her heart stir, something inside her understanding humans more deeply than ever before. To her people, nourishment was mechanical, emotionless. But to humans, it was connection, and that connection felt alive. The crowd erupted in applause, strange, multi-species sounds echoing through the grand chamber. For the first time, Ryan wasn't embarrassed, he was proud. After the event, delegates crowded around him, offering handshakes, tentacle taps, and even gifts. One of them, a crystalline ambassador, said, You humans have redefined the meaning of care. Your milk is now a universal metaphor for compassion. Ryan chuckled nervously. Well, that's nice, I guess. Sarai whispered, See? You are changing the galaxy. Back on the shuttle, As they left the glowing academy behind, Sarai sat beside him with a soft smile. "I am happy," she said, "that I misunderstood you." Ryan laughed. "That's one way to put it." She looked out the window at the sea of stars, her voice thoughtful. "Sometimes, mistakes lead to truths no one expects." He nodded slowly. "And sometimes, they make you a space-famous meme." She giggled. "Yes, but a meaningful one." When they returned to Outpost Delta, the crew greeted them with cheers. Someone had printed posters that read, "Ryan Hale, Ambassador of Empathy." Even the reptilian guards saluted him respectfully. Ryan sighed. "I liked it better when I was just the engineer." Sarai smiled. "Too late, legend now." That night, under the quiet hum of the base, Ryan sat at his workbench. He opened his datapad and saw hundreds of messages from across the galaxy, scientists, poets, even children, each one thanking him for reminding them that kindness was universal. He smiled to himself, realizing that his greatest mistake had turned into his proudest moment. Outside, stars shimmered over the alien horizon, and for the first time, Ryan felt at peace, knowing that one misunderstanding had connected worlds. It started as a joke across the networks, a silly misunderstanding that made the galaxy laugh. But somewhere between the laughter and the curiosity, Ryan's words took root. Clips from his speech spread like wildfire, translated into hundreds of alien languages. Soon, the phrase "milk of kindness" became a slogan, a symbol for compassion across worlds. On the water planet of Tyros, schools began holding sharing days, where younglings exchanged gifts of nourishment to honor humans. On the crystalline moon of Vorn, miners carved statues of hands pouring liquid light, calling it the human gesture. Even the Varn Empire, Sarai's own people, created a new academic branch called Empathic Studies, inspired entirely by Ryan's speech. Ryan didn't know half of it. He was busy repairing a broken reactor conduit, trying to keep his life quiet again, when Sarai burst into the engineering bay holding a data tablet glowing with headlines. "Ryan," she shouted excitedly, "you are in the Galactic Ethics Review again, but this time, for peace nominations." He blinked, confused. "Wait, what? Peace? For what? A milk lecture?" She smiled. "For teaching empathy through biology." He dropped his wrench. "Oh, come on." Still, as she scrolled through the feed, he couldn't help but smile. Planets that had once been rivals were now collaborating on humanitarian projects. The simple act of explaining milk had somehow turned into a galactic symbol of unity. It was ridiculous, but beautiful. Later that evening, Sarai and Ryan stood by the observation dome, watching supply ships glide through the purple mist of Carrion 6. The air smelled faintly of ozone, and the distant hum of engines filled the silence. Sarai spoke first. "You know, Ryan, when I first met you, I thought humans were primitive, impulsive, and emotional." He laughed. "You got 2 out of 3 right." She smiled softly. "But now, I see why your species survives. You feel before you think, and somehow, that saves you." Ryan turned to her, noticing the way the starlight caught in her silver eyes. "You talk like that's a bad thing," he said playfully. She shook her head. "No, it is rare and precious." For a moment, silence lingered between them, warm and quiet. Then Sarai's communicator chimed, a message from the Varn High Council. Her eyes widened as she read it. "They want me to return home." Ryan frowned. "Already? What?" She looked torn. "To teach. They want me to share what I learned here, about humanity, about you." He hesitated, a strange feeling tightening in his chest. "That's good, right?" he said quietly. She nodded. "It is, but I do not wish to leave yet." Her voice softened. "Every day with you has been a lesson, not about science, but about heart." Ryan didn't know what to say. He wanted to tell her that her curiosity made his days brighter, that her questions made even the dullest work feel alive. But instead, he just said, "You'll be back, right?" She smiled faintly. "If you promise not to cause another galaxy-wide scandal." He laughed. "No promises." As days passed, the station prepared a farewell ceremony for Sarai. Alien engineers, human scientists, and even the reptilian guards came to see her off. Someone had painted the words "Thank you, Milk Lady" on her shuttle hull. She rolled her eyes but smiled anyway. When it was time to leave, Sarai stood before Ryan, holding a small silver vial. Inside shimmered a drop of liquid light. "It is from my world," she said softly. "We call it star essence. It symbolizes eternal understanding." He took it carefully. "It's beautiful." She nodded. "As is the chaos you brought into my life." He grinned. "You mean the lesson?" She chuckled. "Yes, that too." The shuttle doors closed, and as it lifted off, Ryan felt something shift inside him. Maybe it was pride, or maybe it was loss. He didn't know, but he realized that somehow, in all the confusion and laughter, an alien girl had made him see humanity through new eyes. Back inside the quiet outpost, Ryan placed the vial of star essence on his desk. Its soft glow reflected against the steel walls. He whispered to himself, "From milk to meaning. Who would have thought?" Outside, the stars looked closer that night, as if the universe itself was smiling back. Weeks passed, and Ryan tried to return to a normal routine. He repaired conduits, calibrated sensors, and drank his coffee quietly, hoping that the chaos of the past month was finally over. But peace never lasted long when Sarai was involved. One afternoon, a massive shadow fell over the observation deck. Ryan looked up to see a fleet of shimmering shuttles hovering above the outpost. Each shuttle bore the insignia of multiple intergalactic civilizations, and Ryan's heart sank. "What now?" he muttered, grabbing his toolkit. Sarai stepped out of the lead shuttle, her silver eyes glowing brighter than ever. Behind her were hundreds of alien delegates, scientists, scholars, and leaders, all smiling. She waved at Ryan. "Hello, human Ryan. We have returned, and we bring an audience." Ryan blinked, speechless. "Audience? You mean for what?" Sarai smiled, a faint blush on her cheeks. "To honor you, for teaching the galaxy about compassion, and for inspiring me personally." He nearly dropped his wrench. "Me? Are you serious?" She nodded. "Entirely. The councils, academies, and research guilds have requested a formal ceremony." Ryan shook his head in disbelief. "I didn't even ask for this." She chuckled softly. "But you changed the galaxy anyway." Inside the grand hall of the outpost, holograms projected scenes of Ryan's adventures. The milk misunderstanding, the council visit, the intergalactic symposium, and his heartfelt speech on humanity. Delegates from dozens of species clapped, clicked, and hummed in applause. Ryan stood awkwardly on the podium, scratching the back of his neck. Thank you? I guess." Sarai stepped closer, whispering in his ear, "You deserve this more than you know." He glanced at her, noticing the warmth in her eyes, the way her silver hair caught the lights of the hall. For a moment, he forgot about the crowd, the speeches, the news drones. It was just them. "You really think I did something important?" he asked softly. She smiled. "You taught a galaxy to care, and me too." As the ceremony continued, Ryan noticed a small child from the Tyros delegation raising their hand. "Sir, will humans always feed others because they feel?" Ryan knelt down, smiling. "Yes, little one, because giving makes the world better." The child's eyes sparkled, and the audience murmured in approval. Sarai's hand brushed against his, and he felt a strange warmth he couldn't explain. Later, after the formalities, Sarai guided Ryan to the observation deck, away from the crowd. "Ryan," she said quietly, "I did not just come back to honor you publicly." He looked at her, puzzled. "Then why?" She hesitated for a moment, then smiled faintly. "I came back because I wanted to be with you." Ryan's eyes widened. "With me?" She nodded. "Not just as a student of humanity or a diplomat, but personally." The stars of Carrion 6 glimmered above them, reflecting in Sarai's silver eyes. Ryan felt a mixture of shock, joy, and disbelief. I don't know what to say." She laughed softly. "Then just say you'll let me stay." He smiled, feeling a weight lift from his shoulders. "I'll let you stay, as long as you don't publish any more milk stories." She grinned. "No promises." From that moment on, Ryan's life changed forever. Not just because the galaxy admired him, not just because aliens from dozens of worlds respected humanity, but because one curious alien girl had crossed a universe to see him not just as a human, but as a friend, a teacher, and something more. And so, the milk misunderstanding that had once embarrassed him became a symbol of connection, laughter, and compassion across stars. Ryan and Sarai stood side by side, watching the horizon. knowing that even in a galaxy full of strange worlds and stranger beings, kindness would always travel faster than light. The stars twinkled above, the delegates departed, and for the first time in a long time, Ryan laughed freely. From milk to meaning, who would have thought? Sarai smiled, linking her hand with his. Sometimes the smallest things teach the biggest lessons. And as the night wrapped the outpost in quiet peace, Ryan realized that his greatest embarrassment had led to his greatest adventure.